Hello everyone. Let's take a look at the $10 PC in a bit more depth. I've done a couple of live streams, one completely dedicated to this PC, in which I started it up, did a couple things with it, and that was that. But I have never really given an in-depth tour of it, so I figured that would be kind of an interesting thing to do. Of course, I bought this PC for $10, and it came from the Facebook Marketplace, a place I don't usually go on because it's mostly garbage, and this is debatably garbage as well, but it kind of caught my eye, and that is because of the case. So there's really nothing special about the case. It's an in-win case of some kind, one that I'm kind of fond of, particularly because I have the same one, and it's what my childhood PC was built in. Actually, I've got it. Turn around here. Got it right there. And if we'll notice that S on the bottom, turn around, it's got the same one. So this says Soyata, and Soyata is a PC builder that used to be around where I live, and I think they're now defunct. I think they've been gone for about 6 to 7 years. But had it not been for the sticker on the front, in addition to the case, I probably wouldn't have picked this thing up at all. But I figured, because it's in the same case, it looks exactly the same. The rear I/O looked quite similar to the one that I used to have. Well, the one that I do have, I just showed you it. I thought it might be interesting to see if maybe it's the same machine. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but it's still quite an interesting little box. So let's go ahead and I'll take you around the back first. We've had a minor change back here, mainly in the power supply. So the original power supply still kind of worked. However, actually I've got it right down there. I'll show you the problem, but it had a noisy fan. So I took it out and went to replace the fan and found a little bit of damage there. Some quite extensive burning and explosioning, if that's even a word. And I don't know what that component right there is called. I think it's some kind of resistor. I don't know. It sticks up out of the board, and it's heat shrink tubed, or has heat shrink tubing around it, and that heat shrink tubing was completely destroyed. So because of that, and because of the fan noise, I would have had to replace the fan. I decided I'm just going to take it out and replace it with something else. It's not a PC I use often enough to really want to put in the time to finding that part to replace in the power supply and replace it. And I was worried I was going to burn down the house, to be quite honest with you. I'm okay with soldering, but I don't really like working on power supplies because they scare me a little bit. So anyway, it's now got a much different power supply. It's a 450 watt EVGA, almost brand new. It's got probably 100 hours on it. So that's been a little bit of a change from the original. Taking a look at the back, we've got it's a TNT, an NVIDIA TNT Riva 2, 16 meg card, some kind of 10100 network card. I think it's a D-Link or an Ovis Link, something like that. Some kind of modem, don't really know what it is, and a Sound Blaster, which I think is a Sound Blaster Audigy of some kind. Creative. Let's see if I can see it in the dark here. It's a CT4830. I don't really know what that is. Some kind of creative Sound Blaster card. And there it is there. You can see the board model. It's an Asus P3V4X. 4X is probably indicating it's got 4X AGP. The hard drive that's in here, it's a 320 gig hard drive, which you'll probably assume is not the original hard drive. This would have originally come with something like a 10 or a 20 gig. At least that's what my PC came with. And it's been upgraded at some point. Something I found a little bit funny was that this thing originally came with, or when it came to me, it had Windows 2000 on it, And the hard drive was partitioned with a 20 gig OS partition, a 20 gig data partition, and a bunch of free space. None of the rest of the drive was even initialized, or, well, it was initialized, I suppose, but it wasn't partitioned for use. It was just empty space. I thought that was kind of funny, that somebody paid for a 320 gig drive, and they only got about 40 gigs of use out of it ever. Optical drives, I'm not 100% certain what the bottom one is, if it's a DVD or if it's just a CD. This top one's just a CD reader. The bottom one will write CDs, might also do DVDs, I don't really know. I guess I could look at the front of it. CD writer, so I guess it will not write DVDs. I don't know if it reads DVDs though. And it's got a floppy drive and a Zip 100 drive in it. For RAM, what do we have for RAM? I think it's got 640 megs, which means it probably shipped with a 128 and was later upgraded to 512. Although that doesn't... Yeah, that adds up. I had to check my math on that. So, probably, as I said, came with that one stick. I think it's this first stick, or the second stick. I think that was the original one, and it was upgraded at some point. If we look under this fan that I've nicely zip-tied here, got a 1 gigahertz Pentium 3. I've actually forgotten by now. I think it's a 1 gig Pentium 3, and the fan on that thing was so loud. Like, I immediately unplugged it as soon as I booted the thing up and threw another fan on there. And I've since swapped that fan out for one that's smaller so I can actually close the case. But that's thing has had a little bit of an upgrade into the future with its new power supply and blue LED fan. Even though the blue LED fan's probably from 2006. So yeah, there is the outside of it. Let's go ahead and power it on. Let's see what we get. I don't remember where I last left off. Is it on? Yep, it's on. Alright, hit the power button. So we got that lovely blue LED. Looks very much different than it used to. And we'll see what this thing is doing. So, I don't know where I left off with this. I had originally installed ReactOS on it, and it didn't quite work out. It was kind of neat, but I just didn't really know what to do with it. So, it's not really plugged in, is it? There it goes. Hardware monitor found an error. I don't know if I really care at the moment. I installed Windows... I think I installed Windows XP on it, and I guess I left it at Windows XP. So that's what it's running right now. In terms of software, there's really nothing to speak of at all. It's just got that base install of XP on it. The interesting thing, I think I was actually testing out a disk that I found. So most of my Windows XP install disks are Service Pack 0, 1, or 2. I've never owned a legitimate Windows XP disk with Service Pack 3 on it. And I found one, and it seems like... What am I doing here? Right click. I think, yeah, there it is. I think I already knew this, but confirming my suspicions, I installed it right from CD, and it's got Service Pack 3 right in it. So this might be my new Windows XP install disk if I'm trying to get XP running with any somewhat modern programs. So it's got a Pentium 3, it says 735, so I think this is actually a 1.2 or 1.3 gigahertz. Because I know it's not a... That is way too... Yeah, is that right? Yeah, that math wouldn't add up. I think it's a 733. I think I was incorrect when I stated it was a 1 gigahertz. Yeah, 733, because I configured that in the BIOS. It's got 640 megs of RAM, and now I'm just double checking myself to make sure I didn't say anything incorrect. It's got a 320 gig Maxtor drive, TNT Riva, or Riva TNT2 Model 64. What do we got for? We got a CD-ROM. I don't think I plugged in the other optical drive. Is this in focus? It's pretty in focus. Got a 10100 network card. US Robotics 56K modem. Yeah. So that is about all I have to say about that. I had some plans for some videos for this particular machine. However, some of them kind of fell through because I just wasn't able to get them to the point that I wanted to get them. For example, installing Apple's Rhapsody operating system, which I think was a beta for either OS X or OS X Server, one of those two. And I know for a fact it will run on x86 because I've done it in VirtualBox, but it doesn't seem to. I think the issue was I couldn't create a boot floppy because the ISO and the burned disk is not a bootable disk. But anyway, I got some more stuff coming with this once I get a little bit of time and some motivation. But there we go. That's the $10 PC. A little 11.5 minute overview of it. Hope that was somewhat interesting. And stick around for some more content on this. I really want to get out some content about this, but it's all a matter of finding the time and the motivation to do it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.